You talk to teams late summer, early fall, they couldn't get over the physical attributes that this young man has. You're going to fall in love with the arm strength and the ability to do the things in football that no one else could do, and that's without question. We talked about Will Levis all fall and the upside there. Now he had an incredibly tough season. Anthony Richardson is a different stratosphere physically in terms of the things that he can do. I think I see a little bit of Dante Culpepper back in the day, and I see a little bit of Josh Allen coming out of Wyoming.
You're wasting reps on any other quarterback on your roster. You plug him in as your quarterback one right away, especially if he's the second quarterback taken in the first round, and you build this entire offense around him.
So I think it's too much talent. I think the floor is a little risky, but as you mentioned, this probably has the biggest ceiling, the highest ceiling of any quarterback in this draft, without question.
Down the window, and there was no time. Richardson, another cutback, tripped up in Utah territory. Fires one over the middle. Grab the ladder, Ricky Pearsall. Well, they're ready to go quick on 1st and goal. Keeper, Richardson into the end zone. There's the Gator touchdown. Peterson goes in motion. What a play by Richardson. A ball fake to keep it alive. And he's got a man alone in the back of the end zone. Play action here. Steps up in the pocket, looking downfield. Now he'll take off and run. The whole left side of the field. Wide open for Richardson. Touchdown.
His eyes, patience, hanging in the pocket, good protection. Everybody's turned their back. Now let me go be a playmaker, right? Paid attention to the receivers, and he's such a big-time run threat.
Well, welcome to the show, fam. Welcome to the show. Welcome to BEZ Sports. We're going to talk about that young man on the screen that you just saw. Potential number 1 overall pick, Anthony Richardson. And what I'm going to talk about why it could be possible. It could be very unlikely, but could be possible why Anthony Richardson could end up being the number 1 overall pick in this draft and really possibly being the headline of this draft 4 or 5 years from now. And I'll explain why. I have 3 reasons why, and I'll explain why it could happen. All right, this is BEZ Sports. My name is Brian Madrill. I'm going to bring to you guys this is my favorite season. It's draft season right now. It is draft season. So I love talking about potential picks. I love talking about the draft. Watch out for my top 5 running backs coming out soon. My mock draft 1.0 will be coming out March 3rd. So we're going to be talking about all that a little later. But let's get right to the big topic yesterday that CBS Sports kind of threw a monkey wrench into the mock draft in the mock draft field, saying that Anthony Richardson is going to be the number 1 overall pick in this upcoming NFL draft in 2023, picked by the Indianapolis Colts. Now, look, let me just say some things real quick about this, right? I wouldn't shock me if the Colts did this because why? They obviously need a quarterback, right? They have, I think it's been like 5 years since Andrew Luck retired. So, obviously they're looking for someone to replace him. I think they went through, let's count the guys, right? They went through Phillip Rivers, and this is no order because I don't remember the order. Phillip Rivers, Jacoby Brissett, Matt Ryan, who's the other? Oh, Carson Wentz. And who else did they go through this year? I mean, Sam Ellinger. They've tried to replace this guy. So it wouldn't shock me if the Colts say, you know what, we need a quarterback. But obviously, there are some guys that obviously Colts fans like more, like CJ Stroud or Bryce Young, or even Will Levis. We see a lot of Will Levis, who's kind of slotted in Indianapolis. But why Anthony Richardson, though? Why Anthony Richardson? Why could he potentially become the number 1 overall pick in this year's draft? I'm going to explain to you why, right? I'm going to explain to you for three reasons, and under there you can see it right there. No particular order, right? Obviously, number 1 is upside, okay? We'll talk about that. Number 2 is, as you saw in that video, his pure, just unbelievable athleticism. I'm going to talk about why that's going to be a huge reason, as we all know what's coming up next week is what? The NFL Combine. And of course, past quarterbacks. And when I say past quarterbacks, I mean past project quarterbacks who were in a similar boat as Anthony Richardson coming out of college, but they were drafted into the NFL and they have success now. So I think I see where CBS Sports is going. I wasn't really in an uproar where they kind of where they slotted him number one. I didn't go crazy over it because I understand, because if you've seen Anthony Richardson play football, like, you'll understand why so many people are so enamored by this guy, right? Anthony Richardson. Now, right. All right, so let's start with number one, his upside. Anthony Richardson arguably has probably the highest ceiling in this draft when it comes to quarterback. I mean, I'm talking better than Bryce Young. I'm talking better than CJ Stroud. I'm talking. I don't look. I'll be first to tell you, I'm not a believer in Will Levis. I just don't see it. And I know that's crazy because you're gonna say like, oh well, what do you see in Anthony Richardson? I'm gonna tell you a little bit. I'm gonna tell you why in a minute. But I think he's better than Will Levis. Anthony Richardson probably has the highest ceiling out of any quarterback in this draft, and I really believe a lot of teams are going to see that. Looking at his numbers, if you look at his numbers, obviously, man, here are his numbers while he was at Florida. They're not going to wow you. And I know that's the first place people go to, and I don't blame you. I don't blame you to go into his numbers to see like, okay, what did he do at Florida? Why was he so special? And look, I'm a Florida State fan, so I watched a ton of Anthony Richardson, especially against Florida State, especially that last game against FSU, where I think he only completed like 9 passes. But look, if you're a Florida fan, you understand a couple of things that happened with that offense. Bill Napier, first-year head coach, trying to get his offense implemented in there. Obviously, Dan Mullen was the coach last year. Didn't really do his best to develop Anthony Richardson. There was a lot of things going on about him kind of giving up on his team and possibly kind of stunting the growth a little bit of a guy like Anthony Richardson, who needs all the coaching he can get. So there was that. And then obviously Bill Napier comes in, new coach, new everything. And Richardson obviously doesn't take into it that well. And some say they kind of hindered him from actually wanting to run more, right? They didn't really want him to use his athleticism enough. And a guy like him, he needs that to build his confidence. And some are saying they kind of held him back a little bit, didn't want him to run as much. But obviously his athleticism is what kind of separates him from everybody else, right? And that goes to our second reason. My second reason to why Anthony Richardson possibly could be the number one overall pick. Look, here's his rushing numbers. They're not wowing, right? They're not wowing at all. But if you've ever seen Anthony Richardson run, it's almost scary because he's almost as fast as Lamar Jackson. And I'm not even lying about this, but he's as big as Cam Newton, right? Anthony Richardson is going to go to the combine and he's going to blow the roof off of it. Like, I'm telling you, don't be surprised that after the NFL combine in Indianapolis, don't be shocked if Anthony Richardson literally flies up draft boards for teams that need quarterbacks. I'm talking the Colts, I'm talking Washington, I'm talking Atlanta, right? I mean, I'm probably missing some teams right now. Possibly, maybe. No, I'm gonna say the Bears. I think the Bears like Justin Fields. But there are some teams I'm missing. Possibly the Lions, possibly the Seahawks. There were Pete Carroll. Don't be shocked if jaws drop because Anthony Richardson's gonna run about a 4.443 at 6'4", about 235. Think about that for a second. 6'4", 235. In comparison, Calvin Johnson was 6'5", about 230, and ran a 4.3 at his combine when he was coming out of Georgia Tech. Anthony Richardson is about 6'4", 231. He's probably going to hit a 4.3, right? He arguably also has the strongest arm in this draft. Like, I know that CJ Stroud's arm is somewhat strong. I know Will Levis has a strong arm. That's why people love him. I get it. A lot of guys have some strong arms in this draft, right? But I'm telling you right now, Anthony Richardson, if you just go watch this guy's film, man. This dude can sling it. It may not be the most accurate. I know you see there. Well, let's go back to his passing numbers real quick. I know he never completed over 60% of his passes. That's scary. That is scary. But you know who else didn't do that? And we're going to get to this guy in a minute. Josh Allen never completed over 60% of his passes, I believe, at Wyoming, right? Didn't do it, okay? Why? Who's in a lesser conference, I might add, right? So Anthony Richardson was in the SEC, best conference in football, Just saying, a little harder, but I mean, as you see, the regression of his completion percentage is not great. But he has probably the most talented arm with the athleticism to go with it, which is probably why a lot of teams like the Colts are looking at this guy like, man, if we can get our hands on this guy, we could possibly have a steal, right? Possibly. Okay. And brings me to my last point to why Anthony Richardson, that I can see why he could propel himself at the number 1 overall pick, is past quarterbacks, right? Past NFL QB projects, we like to call them. You got guys like Lamar Jackson, who was picked at the bottom of the first round, who was, a lot of people were saying Lamar Jackson wasn't going to get drafted, which is crazy, or drafted in like the late rounds. Ravens took a chance on him. They traded up to get him at 32. Obviously, Josh Allen, I believe, went number 6, I believe, to the Bills. Very controversial doing that, but we can see what his career has turned out. And he's another guy who did not wow us in college with numbers, right? I mean, it was his pure athleticism, obviously, his big arm, and he has one of the best arms in the NFL, and now he's probably one of the most accurate quarterbacks. Probably credit to Brian Daboll, which we'll get to that with coaching. And then obviously, speaking of coaching, Brian Johnson, who helped out Jalen Hurts a lot, who obviously was in the Super Bowl this past year, who was drafted in the second round, that early second round, which I personally have Anthony Richardson slotted right now. I think he's an early second, late first round pick. I think that's safe for a team that wants a project guy. But look, man, Jalen Hurts is not running a 4-3. He's not a 4-3 guy. He's not a 4-3. He's not 6'4". He's not 6'4", 230, right? And I think that's what's going to propel Anthony Richardson a lot further than Jalen Hurts. But Jalen Hurts, again, a project guy. Eagle fans remember the booing in the second round when he took him a couple years ago. And now he, with coaching, proper coaching under Sirianni, and obviously Brian Johnson, now who's offensive coordinator for the Eagles, and helping him out. Obviously, these 3 quarterbacks were taking chances on as projects, right? Josh Allen was a project, even though he started day 1. Lamar Jackson did not start day 1. Obviously, Joe Flacco did. And obviously, Jalen Hurts did not start day 1. So those 2 guys are more likely like legitimate projects, and Josh Allen was a guy that came in and just was thrust in. Bottom line is, whoever chooses Anthony Richardson, whoever gets their hands on him, you have to go all in. The way these franchises you see on here, outside the Ravens because they don't want to pay Lamar Jackson, but anyways, the way they went all in on their quarterbacks because they felt like, you know what, let's just go all in. Let's build the team around him and let's just do it. If the right football team with the right coaching can get their hands on Anthony Richardson, I'm telling you right now, I'm not going to sit here and say that he's going to become a perennial all-star, perennial Pro Bowler. I'm not going to sit here and say that he's going to become even what those guys I just showed you. I'm not going to say he's going to become Lamar Jackson or Jalen Hurts or even Josh Allen, who are all MVP candidates, right? And actually Lamar Jackson won one. But if the right team could get their hands on Anthony Richardson, right? A guy who's so raw, a guy I might add who's only played the quarterback position only about 6 years. He didn't start playing quarterback until he was in 11th grade. So he's still fairly new to the position. But man, give the right QB coach, give the right head coach, offensive mind, give the right GM who's going to say, you know what, let's build around this young dude. Let's see what he can do, right? And then let's just kind of push all our chips in the way that the Ravens did Lamar Jackson, the way that the Eagles have built around Jalen Hurts, and the way that the Bills have built around Josh Allen. I'm not sure who's saying red flag, but I really believe that I understand why CBS Sports said that Anthony Richardson could be the number 1 overall pick. I'm not saying that. Let me just first start up by saying I'm not saying Anthony Richardson is going to be number 1 overall. I don't think he will be. I don't think he should be. I think I had him at number 4 or 5 out of my top 5 quarterbacks. I think 3 guys definitely in front of him, right? 3 guys. I have Bryce Young, who's number 1. I have CJ Stroud, and I have Tanner McKee from Stanford, number 3, right? And I believe I have him number 4, Anthony Richardson, and then I believe I have Will Levis number 5. So I get it though. I get it. This guy is going to Taysom Hill. I don't know about Taysom Hill, man. Taysom Hill didn't have the arm of Anthony Richardson. He is not as athletic. I know Taysom Hill does some things for the Saints, and he's an athletic dude, obviously, right? But he's not a 4-3 guy, right? He's not a guy that's going to jump out the gym. Like, I don't like that comparison at all. I don't like that. We have a guy as big as Cam Newton, but runs as fast as possibly Lamar Jackson. That's almost unicorn-like, and I get why teams would take a chance on him. But look, I'm just here to explain to you guys why I believe that this kid possibly could be the #1 overall pick, right? So there I have it. There you have it, man. I'm just trying to make a case for the young man. It's going to be a good draft. Combine's coming next week. He's going to blow the doors off of it, obviously. And I'm telling you, these GMs, these owners, they're looking for that next Jalen Hurts. They're looking for that next Lamar Jackson. We're always looking for another Josh Allen. Anthony Richardson, depending on how he does at the Combine, and then obviously his pro day as well, how he looks, there's going to be a team that falls in love with him. Hint, hint, possibly Washington, possibly Indy, who knows? That possibly Miami, right? That's going to fall in love with him, and they're going to go up and get him. I have him slotted, like I said, at the end of the first round, early second. I personally believe, I think he won't make it past 15. Somebody's going to get him. Like somebody, and look, depending on the team, this kid could be really, really, really good. I'm not saying he is right now at this moment, but his upside, and that's what the NFL draft's all about. And that's what these last few drafts have been about. Upside, like these guys, the upside of Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, and Josh Allen really propelled them to where they got drafted. And as you can see, we also see how their careers are turning out at the moment. So there you have it, man. There you guys have it. I appreciate you guys watching, man. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate everybody coming in, chiming in. This is my second episode. We'll be back again. My mock draft's coming out March 3rd. I have the full first round March 3rd after the Combine because I like doing that, see what the guys do first. And then I have my top 5 running backs coming also as well. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.